Scott in Mexico has a question about skepticism in trans people, and I thought maybe we'd be able to address it to close out today's show.
Hi, Scott.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, my question was, how can I tell the difference if somebody tells me that they're a trans person? How can I tell the difference if they're in fact a trans person, or they're mistaken, or they are lying?
Right. So this is, I guess lots of people have some kind of variation of this question. The way I look at it is it's like sexuality, or another example that I use is handedness. So whether you're right or left-handed, or whether you have a headache, there are some properties about people that we know are real properties of people because we can make predictions based on, the assertions that people, the descriptions people give of themselves. Let me start again. So we can compare it to these other properties like handedness and sexuality. And if I ask you what your sexuality is, you could lie to me, you could be wrong, you could be delusional. There are all of these things. However, there isn't any way that I can truly know what your sexuality is. Like, this isn't something I can actually measure with a sexuality-o-meter. So in most cases, all I can really do is take your word for it. And I can understand why lots of skeptical people are suddenly like, oh gosh, that means I can just say what I want and you just have to believe it. And kind of, yes. But in another sense, if we were like not approaching someone who's having some like argument about sexuality this moment or about being trans this moment, and we go and do like a census of people and we say, please can you fill in your sexuality, your gender identity, your handedness on this form, then we know that most of the time people don't lie on these things. And most of the time when you meet someone, they've got no incentive to lie, and people don't lie about these things. That doesn't mean they never lie about these things, and it doesn't mean that we can instantly take someone's word for it 100%, but it is the way in which we learn these things about people, because we don't have any 100% detector of.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
What fucking difference does it make? If Katie tells me she's trans, I don't care if she's lying. Just like when somebody tells me their name or their pronouns or their favorite ice cream.
No, in the real world, it doesn't really make a difference.
Then why did you ask the question? Why would you ask a question about something that doesn't make a difference?
Regarding specifically like sports, and that was it, and maybe your name is Katie, right?
Is there an epidemic of people who are running around lying about whether they're trans in order to, I don't know, try to get a sports achievement trophy?
Well, here's what I'm thinking. Right?
The answer to that is no.
The answer is that is no. I'm aware of that.
The spirit of men and women in sports. When I think about the spirit of it, is that the men category is it's actually human males and human females. We call that.
Scott, I'm going to stop you before you say something incredibly awful. Did you think for a moment that we suggested that men's and women's sports included non-human males or females?
Horse racing does. So I think what you're trying to go with is, should we allow, if we've got a separation of sports for men and women or any criteria that's going to divide up people, then should we just take someone's word for it? And the answer for that is, it depends on at what level. If we're talking about like children who are just trying to play sports for their PE lessons or whatever you call it in America, physical education, then children coming out as trans can destroy people's social lives. It's an incredible burden. It can ruin their family lives. It's such a big deal that some kid isn't going to come out at school in order to just play on a different team. That's completely ridiculous. However, when we're talking about top level sports where there is like millions of pounds of prize money and we're dealing with adults, potentially there could be someone who was going to lie for that. I don't think we've ever had an example of that in any sport ever in the world, but that's one of the reasons why in top level sport, the criteria isn't just, you know, I choose which category I go into. It's based on, you know, I mean, for lots of sports, it's based on hormones, and sometimes it's based on legal recognition. Now, I don't support that because some countries don't have legal recognition for trans people, so it's kind of garbage. But there are other requirements, I guess, is where we're going for this. And it does, again, depend on the sport as well. There are some sports, I think, like roller derby is quite possibly going to be based on how people tell you who they are, because I know that's very inclusive of trans people. But then something like MMA, which we talked about earlier, is likely to have very strict requirements on hormones and other things.
Sure. Okay, I guess that gives me a little bit.
Does that answer your question, or
on your somewhat?
Do you feel? I feel like you're still lost. What's getting you?
Well, for example, when Christians say that they feel the Holy Ghost, I believe that they feel something, right? But I'm not sure. I think
right. I know where you're going with this. What's the difference
lying,
between?
They're not lying, but I can't really.
Yeah.
I can't.
So the difference between a belief in a God and being a trans person or any of the other properties I mentioned earlier is we can make actual testable predictions based on this, and this is what trans healthcare is. So we can diagnose children with
like a great point.
Yeah, so we can diagnose children with gender dysphoria, which is like there's a lot of different labels here. Gender identity disorder is the old term for it, and I think there's maybe even a new term. It changes, but we can diagnose children as benefiting from trans healthcare incredibly accurately. We can, over 99%, over 99.5%, or even higher in some cases. We can diagnose them as benefiting and transitioning and improving their well-being from that. Whereas if this was a belief in a God, there's no kind of predictions we can make that are so accurate about, something that, like, if someone said their God told them that they had some medical condition, I think we could probably do trials and see that isn't an accurate predictor. So that's one like major difference. And it's the same with things like handedness, and like someone could lie about which hand they are or whatever, but we can just give them a pen and they can just write, and we can just see, for a lot of people, not for everyone, because not everyone can write, but we can make a prediction about which of their hands is going to have neater handwriting. So that's the difference, is we can make testable predictions.
Okay, and I guess I'll do a little bit more reading on that, and I really appreciate you being honest, and both of you, you're doing great.
Thanks. And if you want to call in on the TransAtlantic Call-In Show and ask follow-up questions on this, like, you're totally welcome.
Cheers. Thanks, Scott.
Can you repeat that or put that in I guess the comment?
Whoops.
I'll put a comment.
we evidently lost him right there at the end. So quickly to end this all up. First of all, happy birthday, 45 minutes early.
Thank you.
Enjoy your special day. Happy end of a birthday to my sweetheart. And to all the people, yes, I'm aware I'm just going to be getting flooded with emails from physicists who think I've missed some very important thing about what photons do and don't experience. And I'm happy to take a look at it, but it won't be the first time. And it doesn't mean, okay, well, Matt, you explained it wrong. Cool. Not a physicist explaining it from my standpoint. Doesn't matter. None of it had anything to do with a God anyway, but I'm expecting those emails to come in. What I'm not expecting, actually, I am expecting, but it won't be read. I will read all of the physics papers on photons that you guys want to send in. I'm not going to be wasting any time with the people who are suggesting that transness is mental health issue, or that I couldn't even follow all the little please change the topic. Please stop talking about sports. Please stop talking about trans stuff. Why? What is it that talking about basic human rights and essential ideas and notions about how we're going to cooperate in a world where things have changed, where people are starting to recognize that the world is a little bit more diverse and a little bit stranger and queerer than you might have ever suspected? How are we ever going to get along if we cannot have the conversations about those things? But that doesn't mean that I'm going to let people come in and be nasty and say terrible stuff and all this other stuff. Yeah, do whatever.
I think it's sorry.
Go.
I was going to say, like, it is at least tangentially and partially related to like atheist skepticism, because lots of religions make claims about the world, and they might say something like, a physics claim. They might make a physics claim, and we can say, well, that's just actually wrong. We now have measured the world, and like the classic example is the creation story. It has an order of things happening, and we now know from doing science that it's false. And they also make claims about how humans work. And, they make claims that there are only men and women, or they make claims that all women should do this and all men should do this, or various other claims. And we now know they're wrong. So if that's not interesting to you, then that's fine, whatever. But it is also another tool in your tool belt for countering the claims of various out-of-date religions.
And it may be even more important now that so many seemingly otherwise rational atheist individuals, perhaps prominent scientists like Richard Dawkins, are suggesting books, strongly recommending books by ex-feminist sexology studiers who don't think that gender is a social construct and don't view gender as a spectrum and view that there are just two, and then proceed, when they try to spread these ideas, to be called out on it, as they rightly should, for holding views that are transphobic and harmful to trans. It's like the last caller. Yeah. But the last caller, how do we know if somebody's telling the truth? Well, here's the thing. Are you willing to call them a liar? Do you really want to say you're not really trans to someone who might be suicidal, who has no support network, no affirmation for the view that they are actually experiencing? It's not like we're just putting on clothes and dancing around in some sort of pageant. We have created, it's not pink is for girls and blue is for boys. That's some shit we made up. And while genetic males may be more prone to facial hair than genetic females, who cares? I can wear my hair however I want. I can shave however I want. I can take drugs and change everything about me and about who I am and how I am, right down to genitals. It takes a bit more work. This is the thing. There's science here, but there's also psychology, and there's also a social construct. I don't know why. I suspect why, but I don't know why so many people are so worried about what's in somebody else's pants, or whether or not we define things based on chromosome.
Very stressed by it for some reason.
Yeah. And I don't know why we would try to define things by chromosomes when you don't have access to my chromosomes. You have zero idea, or virtually
I don't know what mine are.
I don't know what mine are. I've never cared, and I really don't care. But
chromosomes don't affect your life once you're out of the womb. Well, your sex chromosomes anyway. But I guess one thing that I would say to skeptics out there is, when someone calls in with this crazy claim about crystals being at the center of atoms or whatever, and we say, well, why do you are someone with a biology degree, why do you think you know more than all of the experts in physics, in the structure of atoms, like internationally, all of their evidence you're saying is wrong, and you're a layman? And I think that is a good question to ask. A layman potentially could be right. We can't say all laymen are always wrong and all of the experts are always right. But we can say, like, as a skeptic, why are you coming in with this, and why are you calling into me?
Yeah.
So also, I just want to say,
bizarre.
This is something that you should apply to LGBT issues too, because the amount of times someone will come in and they'll say all this expert stuff about religion, and they'll be like, oh, this person thinks they know everything about physics. And then I'll say, like, something trans rights, and they'll be like, oh, it's a mental illness. And I'm like, if you think it's a mental illness, you, a layman, why are you now suddenly saying all of the experts are wrong in this new field? And it's because transphobia rots your brain, that's why. But just try and apply your skepticism to everything. Don't just apply it to the things that you like or don't like. Anyway, sorry, rant over.
No. Somebody in chat asked if I was going to continue my discussion about gender ID on later shows. Yes, especially as I find that it annoys some people. I've taken a lot of calls on slavery. If we take a few on trans issues, suck it up, because that's what's going to happen. And on that note, Katie, I can't wait to have you back on the show. And
thank you.
Everybody should go check out the Transatlantic Call-In Show and other stuff. We will see you all next week.